So, are we recording? It says we are recording. And, all right. So, boy, we got a lot of people here today. I think we're like almost full capacity here. I wonder who's missing. Let me just see here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and Texas here twice, 15. We're almost a full house. That's good. So glad you guys are coming. This is really helpful. So, Josue, you wanted to go over, let me grab my book here, 2.6, number 62. Maybe let me see if I, oops. Is that right? Josue must have went on mute. I hope that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right, 62. I wonder if I have to show this or if we can just talk about it. Aviation. Oh, maybe. Maybe I will show it. Okay, so that is the one nice thing about, I think now, by the way, let me just ask this really quick. Who does not have the book by now? If you don't have it, say, you know, Rick doesn't have it or whatever your name is. Okay. So everybody's got the book, so I don't have to post these anymore. But it is nice to have it here. Okay. I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Helicopter maintains an elevation of 3.5 miles and is flying towards a control tower. So here's your control tower. The angle of elevation from the tower to the helicopter acts as in radians. So the 3.5 miles in the air. Oh, what are we supposed to ask? I cut off the question, didn't I? Okay, I didn't notice that. Part A says, write the distance d in miles between the tower and the helicopter as a function of x. And part B says, find d when x equals 1 and when x minus 1, sorry, and I can't read my book. No, it does say x equals 1. X equals 1 and x equals 1.2. Round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so I will say sorry to those people who I left that off. Let's make it a little bit smaller so hopefully we can see the questions. Okay. So anybody got any ideas on how you would solve this?
I do.
Okay, what do you think, Texas?
So you do the sine of x equals 3.5 over d.
Okay, because it's opposite over the hypotenuse.
Right.
Now, and then the only thing that there's only one thing that you're missing. It says write it as a function of x. So the only thing you're missing is equals f of x. Then it would be 100% right.
Oh.
Okay, because you have to write it in functional notation.
Okay, I missed that part.
Okay. Yeah, that's the only thing you were missing there, but that's exactly right otherwise. Okay. And so once you've got your function, part B is really super easy then, right? Actually, let me back up. Josue, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. So how would you do part B once you've got part A? Part B should be super easy.
I think I just have to substitute x, right?
Yeah, so you're going to find f of x, f of what?
F of x equals,
So f of 1
oh, sorry, yeah, f of 1 equals,
actually, wait a minute. Yeah, we're good.
it's going to be 3.5 over, well, it's going to be sin equal 3.5 over d.
Sine of, no.
No, oh,
So
the,
what I did is I solved it and solved it for D.
Right. So if you solve this for D, D equals 3.5
over sine of x.
divided by the sine of x.
Yep.
okay. So
Yeah. Um, now, let me ask you something. If we do it this way, you could also write this as 3.5 times the cosecant of x, right? Does that make sense?
yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Because the thing that was bugging me is, in fact, I should just mention about your calculators tomorrow. So I don't want you. I'm gonna give you a calculator with the test. So you don't need to use your calculator. But for those of you who have a calculator, here's what was bothering me a little bit. Can you find the sine of 1.2?
So sine, well, 1.2 is in radians.
Oh, that's true. Never mind. I forgot these were in radians because I was like, yeah, never mind. That's fine. But yeah, in fact, okay. For some reason, I was thinking in inverse sine, and then I was like, you can't do an inverse sine there. But yeah. So the other question, I guess the question is whether you want to do it that way or not. It might be easier, actually, with your calculator. It probably will be easier to do that. The question is, will you get 4.16 miles? I think that's the right answer. Yeah. For one, sorry, that's the cosecant of 1. I put a 1 in there. Because I will say this. Let's see, what was my formula again? 3.5 equals 3.5 divided by the sine of 1. Yeah, that comes in easy. Okay. Except for my calculator always does radians. So make sure your calculator does as well. And then the other one's going to be just equals 3.5 divided by the sine of 1.2. That one should be 3.76 miles. So are you good, Josue?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Let's see. Do we have a message here that I need to look at? Carol doesn't have it. Is it Carl or Carol? Still doesn't have the book yet? Okay, well, I hope you have it by Monday. Anyway, what other questions do you guys have? This is you guys are running the class, so if you have no questions, I guess we can all leave and I'll go write the test.
That was the last question on 2.7.
2.7, the last question.
Which is 67, I believe.
67, that's another one I want to show. Homework 2.7. This paddle boat one?
Yep.
All right, paddle wheel of a riverboat is shown in the accompanying figure. Write an equation for the height of the paddle relative to the water at time t. The radius of the paddle is 7 feet. The distance from the center of the paddle wheel to the water is 5 feet. Assuming the paddle wheel rotates at 5 revolutions per minute and the paddle is at its highest at time t equals 0, graph the equation for t between 0 and 0.2 minutes. Okay, so I think, let's write down what we can do here. What we know. Okay, so the radius equals 7 feet. Distance from the center of the paddle to the water. So distance to water is 5 feet. Is 5 feet. Okay. We're going 5 revolutions per minute. And the paddle is at its highest point at t equals 0. Highest at time equals 0. So, okay, I think we've pulled out everything in there that we can. So graph the equation. Okay. So graph equation where 0 less than or equal to t, which is less than or equal to 0.2 minutes. Now I have a feeling, let's talk about that for a minute. How many revolutions is 0.2 of a minute?
One period.
Revolution. So we're just doing one cycle, right?
Right.
Okay. So, does anybody have any ideas on this one?
Would we use cosine because it's starting at the top?
Yes, cosine, definitely. Okay.
And then we can use, and our amplitude would be our radius, right? So 7 times the cosine.
Okay, 7 cosine.
And then we could use a vertical shift to take it
function
above the water.
Okay.
There we go.
We want to do a vertical shift. Here, I'm going to put the X in here. Here, I'll put it in parentheses. We can add something there in a second. Okay. Then go ahead.
So +5? Sorry, that was a question. +5. How's that?
Very good. Okay. Is there anything else we need in there?
I think it should be 10 pi x plus 5. Is that right?
Why would you say 10 pi?
I'm trying to remember what.
So you're
it's just
trying to
what I
put a 10
wrote,
pi
but
in here.
yeah. I think it was because. Oh shoot! That's just what I wrote. I can't remember why I wrote it though. It was. It had something to do with the like the combined height.
Okay. So this is your amplitude, right?
Yes.
Your distance to the water is 5 feet. We're doing 5 revolutions per minute. So that means 1 revolution for every 0.2 minutes. So that's 1 revolution essentially. Okay.
Yes.
Now, so we're doing 1 revolution, and so let's talk about the period. So period is normally what's the equation for the period normally?
2
2
pi over
b.
b.
2 pi divided by b.
Or the absolute
Okay.
value of b, technically.
Yeah. So, so why would we put a 10 pi in there?
Because 2 pi divided by 10 pi is 0.2 for the period.
Right. So our period is going to be 1/5. I guess we could do it this way: 1/5,
Yeah.
or a fifth of a minute, and so then that gives us our period of 10 pi. Does that make sense, Texas?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So there's your answer right there. Okay.
Okay.
What else do you guys have?
Could we just go over the first 4 questions on 2.6? I think I was just a little bit confused about those ones. It's just like the principles of how things work, but I was just a little confused on it.
These 4 questions right here?
Yeah.
Okay, here we'll write the answers above them, I guess. So for what values of x is y equals the tangent of x undefined? I mean, I almost want to go back to my notes to make that super clear. Maybe I should. Shall I go back to my notes?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Obviously, you can't use your notes on the test, though. Where's my notes? I'm trying to remember which section it was. I think it was 2.4, let's say. Because this is really a review question.
Yeah.
Well, that's not what I was looking for, but it'll answer it. It's at multiples of pi halves.
Okay.
That answers it there. That wasn't what I was looking for, but oh, maybe it was 2.5. No, I think it was 2.3 maybe. Yeah, there it was. Okay. Yeah, so multiples of pi halves or 90 degrees, your tangent is undefined. I knew that's I was looking for this table. So if you have not got at least the sine, cosine, tangent memorized for these here, you're going to be in trouble for the test. So that's going to be huge. But yeah, the tangent is undefined for 90 degrees.
Okay.
And so, of course, the cotangent will be, basically, these are all flipped. Okay. So, yeah. So remember, sine is 1 over, or square root of 1 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2, and then 1, square root of 4 over 2. And then cosine is in reverse order. And then your tangent, square root of 3 over 3, 1, square root of 3, undefined. So, yeah, make sure that's memorized because that's going to be huge. And you don't get to use any notes for this. And I'm going to give you a calculator, essentially, with the test that you can use. Okay, all right, so now let's go back. Well, we can kind of refer to this. This is the table that I think you guys are going to answer these 4 questions. So number 1 is multiples of pi halves, which is 90 degrees. Number 2, for what value is the cotangent undefined? So who remembers that? Because we just looked at the chart. In fact, I even said it.
0.
Multiples of 0 degrees. Okay. What value of x is the secant undefined?
The pi halves as well.
Yeah, that's the, so the secant is 1 over the cosine, and the cosine is, yeah. No, is it 90 degrees? I have to cheat here. Cosecant is 0. Is that what it said? Oh, secant. Secant, yeah, it is 90 degrees. You're very good. So multiples of pi halves, which is 90 degrees. And the cosecant, we just said that, multiples of 0.
So in that, what does that mean by saying multiples of 0? Does that just mean that like
We're talking
0
about the
and
reference
360?
angle.
Okay.
So remember, as we go back to here, our reference angle is always measured from the x-axis.
Okay.
So when I
got
say
it.
0, that also means 180, I guess.
Okay. That makes sense.
So depending on which quadrant you're in. Okay. All right. Maybe I should put 0 or 180. Okay. Or pi, I guess. If we're using radians, these are all pi. 0 or pi. Okay. What other questions you guys have?
I had a quick question about graphing the tangents.
Okay.
So I'm pretty comfortable with the sine and the cosine with determining where to put the points on the x-axis.
Okay.
But on the tangent, I guess my question is, for the period, you take that and then you stretch it across the origin, right? So instead of starting at 0 and then going to your right, the period, you'd make it, if that makes sense. Is that how you would do that, or?
So do you want to just do a simple one like y equals the tangent of x unshifted?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, yeah. So what's your period in this case?
So it would be pi.
Period is pi. Okay. So from the origin, where am I going to draw my asymptotes?
So you would put them at negative pi halves and then pi halves.
Perfect. Okay. So this is negative pi halves, and this is positive pi halves. And then we'll draw our little asymptotes here. Hard to draw with your finger. And then, yeah, so your tangent function is just going to look like, except for it's going to go through the origin better than I did.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, just like that. Okay.
Sweet.
Can we go over number 60 in 2.7?
2.7, number 60.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, each blue graph displays one cycle. Find an equation of the blue graph. So we're looking at this blue graph. And so I have a feeling, oh, do I not want to do that? I guess I don't. Okay. There's more than one correct answer for this.
Interesting.
So, yeah, there's a few ways we could do this. So what do you guys think?
What's a tangent function, right? So, and the period is pi.
Right.
So I just got, I wasn't sure about the shift though, so I just got y equals tangent of pi
If I can do something
minus
here.
pi halves.
Oh, that worked. Okay, so I can write next to this. Okay, so say that again. Y equals what?
Tangent of pi minus pi halves. But I wasn't sure about the shift, so.
So tangent of pi minus pi halves. Do you mean x minus pi halves?
Yeah, okay, yeah. See, that's my
It's like we're gonna have an x in there somewhere.
is
Okay.
going back to the what it originally was for the equation, you know.
So x minus pi halves. What do you guys all think?
I got y equals negative cotangent of x, but that was just because I didn't want to figure out what the shift was for the tangent.
Y equals the negative cotangent of x, because you didn't want to figure out the shift. That's funny. What do you guys think?
They both look right.
Yeah, they are both right.
Oh, okay. It's just I'm so unsure about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the shift would just be where the line goes through the x-axis. Is that usually what it is?
The shift goes through the line. Say that again.
So the shift would be wherever the line goes through the x-axis. Is that correct?
Yeah, because normally if we're using a tangent function, we're going to go through the origin.
Exactly.
But if we shift it to the right, so the negative pi halves, that works perfectly. But the cotangent is already shifted, and so if we stick a negative in front of it, it looks like the tangent function because the reciprocals. So yeah, either of those answers will work.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay. All right, what else you got?
Could we do question 24 on 2.6? It's another tangent graph.
You guys are all into the last two sections. Remember, there are going to be other things on the test. 26, this one here?
24. Right.
24.
Yeah.
Y equals 1/3 the tangent of x. Okay. So 1/3 the tangent of x. What does that do to my graph? In fact, here's what we'll do. We'll put this, we're going to graph this in relation to the current tangent of x. So y equals 1/3 times the tangent of x. So compared, I know I almost feel bad that that doesn't go through the center, but pretend that goes here. I'm gonna try to draw that better with my finger. Oh, I drew it in red though. I didn't mean to do that. There, that went through the center that time. Okay, so if we say that that's the tangent of x, then how would we compare? What would be the difference here? Y equals 1/3 the tangent of x.
The amplitude would be 1/3, and the period would still be pi. So in this case, like the part where it actually goes through the x-axis, it'll be even closer to the x-axis, if I'm not mistaken.
So it's going to be, are you saying this? Oops, that didn't draw anything. Try that again.
Yeah.
It was terrible. But yeah, it's going to be more angular basically. But yeah, I don't think, well, I guess there's a possibility I could have you draw both of these on here at the same time, but you'll have to get colored pencils or something. I don't know how else I'm going to tell. So, all right, what else you got?
Can we go through, so on the review, can we go through number 9? I just kind of don't understand the degrees, minutes, angle, degrees, minutes, seconds. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I'm just trying to find it here really quick.
Okay.
So the reviews, number 9.
Yeah.
I guess you all found the exam reviews. If not, here they are. Well, there's only one review there now, but there will be more than one. I'll post the next review in here as well. All right, so number 9. Find the measure of the degree angle alpha in the figure. So we've measured this as 210 degrees, 46 minutes, and 37 seconds. Now, yeah. So who knows how to solve this one?
I can give it a shot.
I mean, since it's multiple choice, I can already tell you what the right answer is without knowing the degrees and the seconds, the minutes and the seconds. But yeah, was that Corey?
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you solve for alpha?
So we know that where it is on that y-axis, that is 270. 270 degrees. So we know that it has to add up to be that. So we can take away both of the 30s because those won't get us up to the 270 that we need.
Okay, so you just eliminated both of those.
Yep. And we know that both of the minutes and the seconds are going to add up to be 60. So so we just have these last two, so it's going to be A, because when you add it all up, including the minutes and the seconds, it's going to give you that.
So without even worrying about the minutes and the seconds, 270 minus 210 is 260. So that's exactly 60 degrees. But since I have these minutes and seconds on here, I know it's got to be 59 degrees. And then whatever else here.
So my issue is, in my notes it says the seconds is out of 3600, and so when do we make it out of 60?
Oh, well,
Is that 3600 just 3600 in a degree? 3600 seconds?
yeah, it's 3600 in degree, but yeah,
Oh,
these are
we
both.
can just measure it by minutes though, because that'd be easier out of 60, right?
I didn't hear that. Say that again.
We can just measure it out of 60. Like,
Out of 60
because
seconds. Yeah. Because we're sticking, yeah, when we're sticking with, so this is 60 minutes and this is 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, you still keep it out of 60, but if if we were converting it to a decimal, then it would be out of 3600. Yes, you're correct. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what was confusing to me because it always seemed out of 60, and so I was like,
Yeah.
am I wrong? You know. So. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right. Good question.
So quick question on that. If it was like say A and B were both 59, would you divide so like the 210, the 46 divided by 60, and the 37 divided by 3600, add those together, and then do the same thing for whatever the answer is, and whichever one equals the closest to 270 would be the right answer?
You'd only use the dividing by 360 if you're converting into a decimal form.
Thank
Here
you.
we can just add, and it's kind of, well, that'd be confusing if I explained it that way, but 23 plus 37 equals 60. And so that's, those are our seconds. So that's one extra minute.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can add 46 plus 13, that's 59, plus that one other second, that's a full degree now. So then the 59 plus that 1 degree is our 60 degrees that we're looking for to get to 270.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I was confused about that when we learned it the first time, so thank you.
Okay, well, you're going to ace my test now. You're all going to ace my test, right?
I don't know about that.
I don't know either.
That's
I'll give
cool.
it a shot.
All right, what other questions you guys have?
Can we also go over number 56 on the 2.7 homework?
7.
It's the one, it's, yeah, so it's drawing the graph between the sine and the cosine, but I guess I'm just confused on how you actually draw the combination of the two, if that makes sense.
Okay. So this is going to be tricky, and I'm going to use multiple colors on here. And we're going to do our best. I need a new graph, so we're going to just, we don't need that anymore, right? Okay. So we'll just do it for one period, see how it works. Okay. It's going to be 1, that's going to be -1. This is going to be 2 pi. I guess I should start putting my stuff in here. 2 pi and pi and 1 and -1. And pi halves and 3 pi halves. Okay, so we're going to do y equals the sine of x in the red. Okay, so we know in this case, I'll try to draw this with my finger. I'm trying to draw this as accurately as I can. Okay, so that's your y is the sine of x, and then in purple, we're going to do y equals the cosine of x. Okay? So the cosine of x, well, we're going to go like this. That was pretty good. Gosh, I'm getting better with my finger. Okay, so now in black, I'm trying to remember what the question said, because I forgot already. Cosine of x minus the sine of x. So we're doing the cosine of x minus the sine of x. Okay. So cosine, sorry, that's supposed to be through 1. So 1 minus 0 is going to be 1, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So so if my x equals 0, my y is going to equal 1. Okay. So I'm going to kind of plot, we're going to kind of do a table here. Okay, let's talk about pi halves. So at pi halves, this is 0 and that's 1. So so when x equals pi halves, what does y equal?
1.
No, it's not going to equal 1.
-1. Because,
No,
right, are we taking 0 minus 1?
We're taking 0 minus 1, right? Because cosine is 0, we're subtracting 1, so that's going to be -1.
Gotcha.
Okay. Let's go to x equals pi. Okay. Well, let's figure out. So when x equals pi, the cosine is -1 minus 0 is going to be what?
-1. Right.
I equals -1. Okay. Let's do it again. X is going to equal 3 pi halves. Okay. So at 3 pi halves, the cosine is 0 and the sine is -1. So what is y in this case?
1.
Correct. Okay. And then let's do x equals 2 pi. Okay, when x equals 2 pi, cosine of 2 pi is 1, sine of 2 pi is 0, so your y is going to equal
1.
Y is going to equal 1 as well. Okay. Now, let's add a couple of other points in here. I probably should have done those sooner, but we're going to add a couple of other points in here. We know that the graph is going to cross here, right? What does the sine equal the cosine?
Is it pi fourths?
Yeah, I probably should have put those in here. X equals pi fourths. Okay. So in this case, when x equals pi fourths, the cosine of pi fourths is
square root of 2 over 2.
Square root of 2 over 2, and then so we're going to get square root of 2 over 2 minus the square root of 2 over 2. So therefore your y is going to equal 0, right? Okay. We also know that that's going to happen again at this point. What is this point here?
7 pi over 12 or 9 pi over 4?
Well, it's going to be some multiple of pi fourths, right?
Yeah.
Oh, 5 pi fourths.
So x is going to be 5 pi fourths. So y is also going to equal 0 again. Okay. Maybe I'll do this in green. Okay. So let's highlight, and I'm gonna just put some little dots here, so that we've got these here. So when x is 0, y is 1. Okay. So we're kind of plotting points here. When x is pi fourths, y. So at this point we're going to have a 0. When x is pi halves, y is going to be -1. When x is pi, y is also going to be -1. When x is 3 pi halves, y is going to be 1. When x is pi halves, we're going to have this here. When x is 2 pi, y is also going to be 1. Okay, so what we really need here, so we've kind of got this plotted, okay? There's only, what would be nice to know, what we don't know, is what's going on here and what's going on here, okay? So let's talk about that for a second. I mean, as we look at a graph, okay, let's see. Let's see. So this is going to be 3 pi fourths, right? Maybe we could put that in there. Essentially, one way to think about it is if I look at this graphically, okay, this is going to be, we're going to take, the cosine is going to be positive, and we're going to subtract a negative. So this is going to end up out here. Whoops. Forgot my circle is not here. This is going to end up somewhere around here, right? It's going to be higher. And the same thing's going to happen over here. I've got the cosine is going to be negative, but I'm going to be subtracting that, and it's going to be up here. So essentially what I've got here, now that I've got these points drawn here, we can also figure those out. But essentially this is what, so the green graph is what's going to happen. And so there you have it. That's the green graph. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. I have a question. How do you get the y for some of those? Like you're saying that at pi halves, the cosine's at 0, and then the sine is at 1. Like, how'd you get -1 out of that?
Are you talking about this one here?
No, that one too. Like, I had a question about like what are you doing to get those y coordinates?
Okay, so you understand how we got this one, right? So if x is 0, so the cosine of 0 is going to be 1.
Okay.
And the sine of 0 is going to be 0. So 1 minus 0 is 1. So do you understand how I got this green circle right here?
So you took, yeah, I think so. So
yeah. So essentially, here, let me write it this way. Let's make sure that I'm super clear. So the cosine of 0 degrees or 0 radians minus the sine of 0. Okay. I'm going to write the answers above this. So the cosine of 0 is 1 minus the sine of 0 is 0. That's going to equal 1. And so that's how I got y equals 1 here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And essentially what I've done is I've done the same thing for each of these. So when I say that x equals pi halves, okay, essentially what I'm saying is, what's the cosine of pi halves minus the sine of pi halves? So, well, you can look at the graph here. The cosine is the red graph. Excuse me, the sine is the red graph. The cosine is the purple graph. Okay, so the cosine of pi halves is going to be 0 minus the sine of pi halves is just going to be 1. So that's going to equal -1. And so that's how I got the second one.
Okay.
And so basically I did I did the same thing with all of these points.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. What other questions do you guys have?
I had one from the review.
Okay.
40. Oh, sorry, not 42.
Where'd my review go?
43.
Oh, here's my review. 43.
Yeah.
Graph the function over a 1-period interval. You know what I think I would rather do, because I can't just call like that. Okay, do you care if I erase this stuff here? Anybody care?
I don't mind.
Fine by me.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to crop this. Okay, so I'm going to make this bigger. Okay, so the nice thing is we've got all these values here, and so we've got a nice little chart here. Okay, so let's talk about the amplitude, the period, and the phase shift. What's your amplitude?
So the amplitude would be 1/2.
Half. Period.
And the period would just be 2 pi, correct?
No.
Be pi halves, I believe, because it
So
would be 2 pi
a
over
normal
4.
cosine with no shifting, just the cosine of x would be 2 pi. But what's the definition of period? It's 2 pi over b, right?
Yeah.
So what's b in this case?
4.
So would it be 4?
Yeah, so 2 pi over 4. So that's going to be what?
2 pi over 4 would be pi halves.
Pi halves. So we're doing this whole thing in pi halves, okay?
Okay.
Now, what's your phase shift?
The phase shift.
What's the formula for the phase shift?
That's a good question. I have to look at my notes really quick.
Okay. Just remember, you can't use your notes on the quiz or on the test tomorrow.
I'm pretty good with most everything except that formula so far.
Yeah. That was the new one.
It's somewhere in here.
Anybody else remember?
Negative c over b.
Negative c over b. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Over here. How many questions are on the test? I don't know. I haven't made it yet. I would guess at least 15 to 20. Questions. That would be my guess. The problem is some of them are super easy, like converting. I don't know. Yeah. There'll be some easy ones and some hard ones. Stuff like this graph, I understand this is going to take a little bit of time. But other stuff you should just know instantly. So, but anyway, okay. So the phase shift is negative C over B. So in this case, we're going to get what?
It would be would it be pi thirds over 4?
Oh, that was a question.
It is.
Okay, it was a question. Well, I'll put it there. So you said pi thirds over 4? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, who agrees with them? Here, should we put a thumbs up, thumbs down? Agree. We're going to do agree, disagree. I'll let you look at it again.
It's the formatting of it all that kind of throws me off, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you do the thumbs up? I can't ever get it to work. Do you right click or?
Let me just say this. If you log into Teams, you can do a thumbs up. If you are a guest, if you're just using the web, you cannot do a thumbs up. Oh, and Tayton, you asked me that, and you're a guest, so you can't thumbs up.
You have to log in on the website if you're doing it from the browser to not be a guest.
Yeah.
Like you have to log in with your student ID.
Yeah, so.
I'll try that.
So Chris, I see, is a guest as well, and so is it Carl who just walked away? Carl Ivan? Carol? How do you say your name? You're on mute. I saw your lips move.
It's Carol Bowden, but I go by Ivan, my middle name.
Oh, you go by Ivan? Okay,
Yeah.
well, I can call you Ivan. That's great.
That's easier.
That's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay. You're a guest too, so you guys are going to have to choose.
I'll agree.
To choose from what, so I missed that.
On this question that we're working on here, he's got pi thirds divided by 4. Is that correct for his phase shift, or is it wrong? I'll put it there for a second so you can see it better. Now, by the way, I should ask a question. What is pi thirds divided by 4?
Pi twelfths?
That's pi twelfths. So pi thirds divided by the 4 is the same as pi twelfths. Is that why some of you disagree?
Well, the thing is, on that, you have secondary parentheses within that equation. So the 4 would have to multiply into everything. 4 times x plus, and then 4 times a negative pi thirds. So the phase shift would be different altogether.
What do you think it is?
Be negative 4 pi thirds over 4, I believe.
Well, negative 4 pi thirds over 4 is going to be the same thing.
It would be the exact same thing.
Yeah. Pi twelfths. This is right.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So we're going to shift this. So let's talk about that. So does it shift right or left pi twelfths?
To the right.
To the right.
shifts to the right, pi 12ths. Okay, so pi 12ths to the right. Okay, so essentially, okay, so as we're doing this, so we're going to shift it about, so this is pi 6, so it's going to be halfway in between there. So we're going to start high. We're going to start at the 1/2. I'm going to try to make this green. Actually, let me do it. I'm going to do it in black first. So normally, one period. Okay, I got to think about this for a second. This is a tricky one. So we've got an amplitude of 1/2. That's important. Our period is only pi halves. So if our period was only pi halves, unshifted, I'm going to do that in black, I think. So unshifted, our period in pi halves would be, we're going to start here, like that, roughly. Now, since it's shifted, what we're going to do is we're going to move everything over just a tiny bit. And so that doesn't quite go up to 1/2, but pretend it does. Let me try it again. So everything's going to be shifted over. I didn't start it very high. I didn't quite end it there. I don't know that it goes all the way to there, but that's pretty close. Except for I went way too deep because it should stop. Here, let me try that again. Because I got to remember it's only 1/2. Okay, so we're going to start as a little shift over. It's going to look something like that. Okay. Now, I guess maybe we should start labeling this better because we're starting here at pi 12ths, pi 12ths, and we're going to pi halves. So essentially, if the period is pi halves, so we're going to need pi halves plus pi 12ths. And so that's going to be, oh, sorry, that's supposed to be divided. Pi halves plus pi 12ths. So that's going to be 6 pi 12ths plus, so that's going to be 7 pi 12ths. 7 pi 12ths. And so this value here is going to be 7 pi 12ths. And then, so the low spot here is going to be 4 pi 12ths, which is pi thirds. Well, I didn't quite draw that right, I guess. So pi thirds, so that's actually a spot that we're going to want, pi thirds. And then, here, I'll leave that there. Pi thirds, my graph's off a little bit because it's too hard to draw with a finger. Where does it cross the axis here? It's going to be in between pi 12ths and pi thirds, right? It's going to be halfway in between those. So that same thing as 4 pi 12ths, so 5. Let me think about this. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. 4 pi 12ths plus 5 12ths is 5 pi 12ths. It's going to be halfway between there, so it's going to be 5 pi 24ths. So this point here is 5 pi 24ths. I wrote on the top of that. And then this other place where it crosses here is going to be probably, yeah, 7 pi 24ths. Does that make sense? So if we were drawing that, that's what it would look like. So I know this was a multiple choice question. Really, this is what it should be looking like. So basically, we can throw that out right away. We can throw that out right away. Oh, was there a negative that I didn't pay attention to? No. Why is that one starting at pi thirds? That seems not right to me.
Well, I think Texas had it right because I got
the phase shift as 4 pi thirds over 4 as well, but that comes out to pi thirds, right?
Did I mess up on the phase shift?
Yeah, it comes. That's what came to me. That's why I was confused. I stayed
Because I
quiet.
was thinking it was the same thing. Maybe I did some math on that wrong. So the phase shift, so you said 4 pi thirds divided by 4.
Right.
Oh, I forgot the 4 in the beginning. See, I was thinking those 4s canceled. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that in my head. Maybe I should be listening to Texas there.
They do cancel.
Oh, they do cancel, and therefore it is pi
Cancel, but
thirds.
then it will be pi thirds.
It is pi thirds. Oh, I screwed that all up.
Sorry, when you asked me
Sorry,
earlier.
Texas. You're right.
fine.
Yeah, I guess that's what's nice about the multiple choices. Oh yeah, so it is pi thirds. Okay. So I did get my phase shift wrong. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so that's correct, and that's wrong. Okay, so that's correct. Okay, so everything is right there, and it is to the right. So pi thirds, oh, I didn't, that was supposed to be an equals, but that's pi thirds to the right. Okay. Okay, I was thinking those 4s would cancel, but no, I did it wrong. Okay. I will say this, even though we did it wrong, it was nice that we had the multiple choice because we knew that these 3 had to be wrong and that had to be the best answer. And then, yeah, so don't forget to distribute the 4. Like, I was thinking the 4s would cancel, but they didn't cancel. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
It makes sense to Texas. How about everybody else? All righty. Well, we're about out of time, aren't we? Did everybody stick around the whole time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, looks like you all stuck around. All right, so quick reminder, I keep forgetting to look at the proctorio quiz, but please, 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 I don't want to have any calls tomorrow. I want to sleep in tomorrow. I'm gonna do all my hard work today, and I'm gonna make the test today. But if you have a problem tomorrow, remember it's going to go from 8 to 9:30. Then please text me immediately. Do not try to print the test; it will kick you out, and it will call that a cheating error. So do not print the test. I haven't decided if I'm going to put any. I'll probably put a few multiple choice on there, but it's going to be mostly show your work. So you don't need to write if you. So make another thing. 2 other things about the test. Make it clear. Please don't take pictures of that are out of focus or that are really light or whatever. I'm only going to give you 50. So test is from 8 till 9:30. I'm only going to give you 15 minutes to upload it, so it should be uploaded by 9:45.
You mean 8:45 or 9?
The test is from 8 until 9:30. The test, your upload must be done by 9:45. So within 15 minutes after the test is over. Okay.
Do we just upload on Canvas?
Yeah, you'll upload it on Canvas. Ideally, here's what I would recommend. Okay. Do I have a piece of paper? I have a bill here, an envelope. Okay. Pretend this is my test. You're going to take a picture of your test. Boom. If it's the other side, boom. Okay. Show me both sides. Then I would prefer that, because I had this last semester, some cameras on your cell phone put it in a really weird format. So please paste it into a Word document. So paste picture one on page one, picture two on page two. I don't want to have 5 JPEGs, so I'd like them. I mean, if I have to, I will, but I would prefer that if you put all your pictures in one document, and then you can either save it as a Word document or a PDF. I do know that there is some cam scanner thing, which actually works pretty well. So I don't care if you use that, but I would prefer not to have 5 different attachments. I would prefer to have one. Please do that.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Ivan.
So I don't know if I didn't hear you right, but I'm a little confused. So you said that and I'm just asking because in the past when I took my test with Proctorio in my computer at home, it was all in the computer and I didn't have to like print anything out. You said that if we try to print out the test, it will kick us out, but then that we have to upload it. I got lost on that part.
Yeah, you should do not print the test.
Okay.
Just don't even try. So just, if number one's a graphing problem, just write it on your paper, number one, and then you can just write the answer on your paper. Once you're done, you're going to take a picture of your paper, and then you're going to upload the pictures.
Okay, thank you. I got confused after, yes.
Okay, so my preference is upload it as a Word document or a PDF. If you really struggle with that, I guess you can upload it as a bunch of JPEGs, but that's not my favorite. You can do that, but I would prefer that you didn't. And a lot of times, and please make sure that it's landscape. I guess I have figured out how to rotate it, but sometimes that is such a pain. So
is there a certain place you want us to upload?
Yeah, so I will have, so basically the test will be of 2 parts. Part 1 technically will be worth, no, I should say, so part 1 is where I will grade your test. Part 2, I will have an assignment called upload. Technically, it will be worth 0 points, but it's not going to be worth 0 points because I'm going to look at that as I'm grading your test, and so I was any graphing problems, whatever, I'll be looking at your paper to give you the credit on that. So
sweet.
Is there a number of how many pages of scratch paper we can use, like a limit or anything?
You can use as many as you want. I don't have a limit on that. But what I will say is your scratch paper must be blank on both sides. So if you want to hold it up and say, look, this is blank, I don't have any notes or anything. If you want to have 10 pages there, okay, show me that it's blank on both sides. But yeah, no notes. Don't ask anybody about a question except for me. If you have any sort of an issue, most of you have my phone number, but I'll put it on the test too. Text me immediately if you have a question, or if you have any issues, any technology issues, and I'll work with you. But yeah, don't hesitate. Last semester, I had a girl and she took way too long, and I was like, "What happened?" She says, "Well, it kicked me out." And I mean, I know she's not a tech person, but she didn't say anything, and I was just like, "You took 2 hours on this test. What's going on?" So, anyway, any other comments or questions?
Do you want us to send pictures of our notes or just the answers to the questions? Not our notes, but like our scratch paper that we use to solve the problem. If we have it on, do you want pictures of everything?
I want pictures of everything. Yeah, I will give you partial credit if I can figure out what you're doing. If it's obviously the multiple choice is it's all or nothing. But the like the graphs, I can give you partial credit if I can figure out what you're doing. If it's a word problem, if I can figure out what you're doing, I'll give you partial credit. So yeah, I'd like to basically see everything. Just make it neat, make it easy for me to find. The biggest problems are it's out of focus, or people try to put too much on one page and then I have to blow it up and then it gets, so one picture per page, I guess. So, and if you have to upload 5 pictures, I guess that's okay. It's not my favorite. I would prefer just stick it in a Word document and you can either save it as a PDF. I do know last semester I had some people that had some software program called Cam Scanner, which actually was very readable. So I don't mind that as well. So, all right. Anything else?
Do you want this on like Word, or can we also just do it on like Google Docs, like make all of our pictures on like a Google Doc and then send in that doc?
Google Doc should be able to save it as a DOC file or a DOCX file. So if you want to use Google Doc, I don't have a problem with that. Just save it as either a PDF or a DOCX file.
Okay, cool.
So.
Does the test automatically end at 9:30?
Yes. So if you're late, it still ends at 9:30. So you don't want to be late.
Okay.
So if I'm working and I need to take it at a different time, do you want me to just text you or send me a message on Canvas at what time?
Yeah, send me a message on Canvas if there's an issue with work or something and you can't take it at 9 o'clock or excuse me at 8 o'clock tomorrow. I will open it for an hour and a half period. For the hour and a half, you tell me.
Okay.
And so I can do that. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we can do that. But please send that to me today because I don't want to come in tomorrow and be like, how come you didn't take the test? So yeah, send me that today. Okay. I'm going to be working on the test. Basically, once we hang up, that's what I'm going to be working on. I'm going to write the test. And I have to tell you, as you know, multiple choice sucks for me. It's nice for grading, but it's just a pain. You can see from my past quizzes how big of a pain it is because I get confused. But so yeah, I'll probably have a little bit of multiple choice. Probably no more than 1/4 of it will be multiple choice. I haven't come up with my questions yet. My goal is about 15 questions, but it seems like the first section, there was a lot of easy stuff that was like, you should just know it really quick. Some of the graphing, I know that's going to, especially if we do phase shifts, I know that's going to take more time, so I'll try, but don't hold me, but 15-ish questions, 10 to 20, but 15 is kind of my goal. So. I see people dropping off. And that's fine because we're over time. So any other questions you guys have? Okay. Well, please email me on Canvas. By the way, Nicole, did you email me not on Canvas? I think I saw something and I never answered it because I don't check that email as often. Did you get it answered, or do you want me to answer it? Because I just noticed it today.
Yeah, because you were just talking about the quizzes, how you're going to update that stuff. So.
Oh, is that what it was about?
Mm-hmm. That and the attendance, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I will try. Probably update attendance tomorrow when you guys are taking your test.
Okay. No worries. I just wasn't sure if you had or not, so I was just wondering.
Yeah, I'm a few days behind on attendance, but the nice thing is I'm recording it, so I know if you guys were here or not.
Yeah. True.
So we have video proof. All right. Okay, I will let you guys go. And let's see, is there anything else here? Ivan already left, have to get to work. All right. So see y'all tomorrow. Send me an email today if you can't take it between 8 and 9:30, and I will work with you. And good luck. You'll all do awesome, I hope.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
And if anyone